Gurmagat Las Can Curla. From the outset, may I join with everyone in acknowledging the friends, family and supporters of those on the Flotilla who join us today in the gallery, and thank them as representatives of their loved ones, but also for their own advocacy. In closing today's session, Las Can Curla, I really want to echo the sentiments expressed throughout the House in conveying my deep concern over reports of attacks on the Flotilla, and take this opportunity to reiterate that no unlawful or violent act should be taken against those involved. In his earlier remarks, the Taoiseach set out the range of diplomatic and political actions that have been taken with regard to ensuring the safety of Irish citizens aboard the Flotilla, as well as the consular services provided. In the 4 minutes or so, I'm going to try my best to reply constructively to some of the points that were made by deputies opposite, of all parties none, as well as to a message I received from Deputy Barry Heenan when we spoke this morning, who's on the Madeleines Flotilla, and he asked to convey to the House, because he couldn't be here to do so himself, that this is first and foremost a humanitarian exercise. And we would have heard in Deputy Smith's contribution exactly why that must be. We are witnessing a man-made famine, Las Can Curla, that can be reversed by the actions of man. We are seeing children emaciated on our television every night, and as the Minister of State responsible for international development, I feel it is important for me to put on the record the exact notion that, due to the actions of the Israeli government, this is the most dangerous year in the history of mankind to be a humanitarian aid worker. Over 350 humanitarians have been killed in this calendar year, and last week at the UN, I joined the Australian Foreign Minister to sign a declaration to say no more, and let's work against it. But because so many brave humanitarians in Gaza, they're supported by the Irish Government through the World Food Programme, through UNRWA, and indeed through airdrops that Deputy Tobin mentioned. They have been carried out by friendly nations in the Arab world, by our friends in Belgium. We have supported them. But yet still we see humanitarians, nurses, workers, everyone else victims of assassinations and death. In relation to Deputy Kearns and Gibney, who asked us to engage with our counterparts, this is already being done with obviously the Spanish government, who we worked very closely with over the last 18 months through the Taoiseach, but also with all EU member states and the EU institutions, as the Taoiseach laid out in relation to his contact with Kaja Kallas. In relation to Deputy Stanley's point on the EU-Israel Trade Association Agreement and the results of the next European Council meeting is something that we're working on very proactively at the moment. I was very lucky to join the Taoiseach, the Taoiseach and indeed Deputy Brennan at the UN General Assembly. There was a special informal Foreign Affairs Council meeting of EU ministers. Every waking hour is being dedicated to make sure that the very minor, I would suggest, but first step proposals from the European Commission President is passed using the QMV, and we'll continue to work with that. And I am assured by the Taoiseach that we will have a version of the Occupied Territories Bill in the floor of this House extremely soon. Deputy Murphy, you and I have known each other for well over 20 years. We very rarely agree, but when we do agree, good things can happen. I actually remember being on that march with you and Deputy Coppinger over 20 years ago during the time of the Iraq War, and there's very other referenda that we can cite. I'd like to acknowledge your previous involvement in other flotilla and your commitment to this, and the points that you raise are very true. And again, I refer to our ongoing cooperation with EU member states who are carrying out the work that you're doing, and we very much are open to all suggestions. Just in conclusion, Deputy McLaughlin raised the point at order of business in relation to a need for flexibility. We have a long debate, Deputy McLaughlin, tomorrow on Gaza, and all of us, I sincerely think, hope and pray as we're entering darkness here, but we're already in darkness in the Mediterranean. All of us hope and pray, as that 60-mile limit has reached, that nothing untoward happens to anyone. And the actions that have previously been taken by the Israeli war machine aren't repeated. But I think tomorrow we wake and see what happens, see what we hear in the news, and people are in contact with the designated contact person from the flotilla, of course with the families, with the loved ones, and with other government agencies and observers. And I think through that debate tomorrow we'll obviously have to be, from a government point of view, very open to suggestions to work, because when we do work as a Dáil, as a collective, where we're able to disagree on certain things but agree on the big issues, I think that is an impactful statement, as has been made by deputies across here. And I give you that undertaking here today, and hopefully we can respond in kind, but hopefully we don't need to respond. In conclusion, Las Can Curla, I think this debate brings out the very depth of feeling in this chamber collectively, but also outside the chamber to a greater extent, about the genocide that is happening against the people of Gaza, and how we must continue to not just speak out but to act out. And to your point, Deputy MacDonald, we will continue to act out, and we are more than happy to cooperate to continue to further every move going forward.
Thank you.